You already know what it is. It's another Monday. You don't have to be perfect. I got someone special in the house.
What's up? Okay. Is that you? Yo! To become someone new, to be the true you, never be afraid to do you in front of the critics, sideline judges, non-believers, people holding their grudges, appreciate the hate, it comes with the winning, when your wise making the money, you're unstoppable from the beginning, your excuses are useless. Let your actions be part of the solution and watch the income it produce. Recognize greatness, a supreme revelation. Years of blood, sweat, and tears to become an overnight sensation. Can't do it alone. I should have said this first. Teamwork always makes the dream work. Teamwork always makes the dream work.
Good evening.
Nice.
You know, today, ladies and gentlemen, I got someone special in the house for you. Not only is he an amazing entrepreneur, the bracelets that you see me wear and brag about, is made by his amazing daughter. So, today's bracelet is Smile, right? So, I am so happy to have with you today, Mr. Tremayne Tatum.
Thanks for having me, man. Really appreciate it. I think my daughter should have been getting interviewed than me. She is the entrepreneur. I was talking to her yesterday. We were watching. We were like, she's like, Dad, I'm an entrepreneur. Like that word, the fact that she knows that word at 7, started at 4, it's just mind-boggling. So yes, but thank you for that. I appreciate the invite, man.
Oh man, and don't worry, we can have Sage on another time. I do not mind. The only reason I haven't invited her is because we're Monday, and it's a school night, and I love my baby too much, But we could possibly during one of the breaks, Christmas break or something. We'll bring her out because she is amazing. Before we tell your story, I do have to tell her story. Sage made me my first, the ones that I've outgrown. Was a green one. So I get this wonderful call from your daughter. Mr. Paz, I made something special for you. I'm like, yeah. It's like, yeah, I made you a bracelet. So I'm excited. I get there. I get to get my bracelet. She puts it on my arm, makes sure it fits comfortably, and then goes, $8.
Right, that's my baby girl.
I said, $8. Let me go to ATM machine because I don't carry money. Let me go right away. I was like, I loved it because you couldn't take it off. It was already
She put it on you already, right?
It was already on. Yeah. Like I can't say I ain't got no money. You know what I mean? It's, best salesperson ever because it was already on. How do you tell this 4-year-old at the time?
At the time she was 4.
At the time she was 4. How do you tell this beautiful 4-year-old? No, I don't have $8. And it was funny because being an entrepreneur, people don't realize sometimes you paycheck to paycheck. Paying other people. Mm-hmm. So it was after I just paid some other people. Yeah. So that $8, I was like, that's lunch. I was like, but you got that. You know what I mean? You got that. But I love her. I love seeing her grow. Yeah. I love seeing her grow into not just the entrepreneur, but the leader. That she's become. Running, for a small time. She had a little crew of young entrepreneurs in her age group, just providing opportunity for others.
Yes, she did.
So that was amazing. But you do amazing things in your own right. People don't realize that you play in a world and in a space that most people that look like us don't really play in. Yeah. Like And it's funny because this is an interview that is time in the making.
Yeah.
Because you were talking in a space that I don't hear, um, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
many people of black or brown descent,
And private equity and M&A. Yeah.
like that's such an amazing
Yeah.
world to get into,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not a world that many of us, like I say, one know about,
Yes. Yeah.
and two get into.
Yeah.
You know, I was blessed that one of the sisters I knew was the youngest black VP, or youngest VP in Goldman Sachs history.
Oh,
Young,
wow.
you know what I mean? Now she's in her 40s.
Yeah.
That I was like, there's a world
Yeah. There is.
that I don't know about.
There is. There is.
Right. And um, you know,
Yeah. What's interesting, being a young entrepreneur, I found my entrepreneurial roots is when I was 10 years old. So me and my brother, this is how I like to explain how I got to where we're at. Me and my brother, we had our own baseball card shop in our basement. So we noticed there was a gap where our friends didn't want to ride their bikes to the baseball card shop to get the latest card. I'm sure you collect cards back in the day. We collect baseball, basketball, all those cards. But what we discovered is we rode to the baseball card shop. We would get a box of those baseball cards. We would open the box up. We would take the pack out. Okay.
Yeah.
We would open the pack up and take the best card out, put it on the ground, and then the remaining we would fill it with some like just regular cards. We got an iron. We ironed the pack back together in the box. Took the good card, put it in a glass case, and we sold it for a premium.
Yeah.
What that was financial engineering of an asset, and no one taught us.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't even know what an entrepreneur was. It was just we just knew to do that. And long story short, my mom shut down the baseball card shop because we had so many kids coming in our basement to buy stuff. And looking back, I always say we should have gave my mom a percentage of the sales because she loves shoes. My mom loves shoes, so if we would have gave her a shoe budget, we might have kept it going. So that's where it really started, like innately, of like this idea of engineering assets, financial engineering assets. And then I went on to work for the Wall Street Journal. And my time, I worked there for like 8 to 10 years. But at my time there, it was like I'm seeing all these companies getting bought and sold. I'm like, what is this? Like, how do I get in? Like, how do I play in the game? So long story short, I career there, and I jumped out to start my own thing. So I did a lot of consulting, a lot of projects in London, all over the place. And then fast forward about 5 years ago, I heard of someone by the name of Robert F. Smith. It's about maybe 10 years ago because he was really low key at the time. He didn't do any interviews, but he looked like us. And I always followed him really closely on how he was buying software companies. And I was into this. So a friend of mine, we started a company where we kind of like engineered this startup incubator where we were getting equity out of these companies. Um, Long story short, I was like, how do I get into this industry? And there's this guy I was studying on software companies. And he had this magazine where he called the most expensive magazine in the world, $40 a month. And I was paying $40 every single month to get this magazine so I could learn about this industry, specifically B2B SaaS companies. And I remember the first issue, I opened it up and it said, we're doing our first event in New York, but you have to make $17 million or above. It was private.
So I don't got no $17 million. You know? So I was like, he had a number on there. I called up the number, and I was like, "Can I volunteer?" And he was like, I first talked to his assistant, and he was like, "Yeah." Long story short, I was doing like these small tasks. Then it led to the big. Next thing you know, I'm putting together this whole event in New York, Bryant Park. We were, and the thing that got me was once the event was over, and it was weird because it was like I was like this 40-year-old intern. Like, and that's the thing, and we wouldn't get into that. Like, most people don't. They're so status driven. They won't like. I'll do whatever needs to get done to get into the circles that you need to get into.
And I want to pause you there.
Yeah,
that's so important, right?
Yeah,
because being a 40-year-old intern is so deep because I tell people I'm always in an internship, right? Because I am in spaces and places above my pay grade.
Yeah,
So I'm always learning something.
Yes.
Right. And I love that you said how you got in.
Yeah.
Was by service.
Yes.
Right. You came in as a volunteer.
Mm-hmm.
The way I built my relationship with the Napoleon Hill Foundation was the exact same way. Mm-hmm. Napoleon Hill says, a question you should ask anyone is, how may I serve? Yes. Right. So that was the question I asked everyone. like not anyone.
That's true.
If you had this much money,
yeah,
you know what I mean, you got a text message. How may I serve? Yeah. And what it did, like in your situation, made you a trusted source.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because service, they can now say, I did work with Tremayne.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So no, people can't tell them what you can't do.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you've already done work with Tremayne.
Yeah.
People, that's amazing.
It's powerful. And at the event, and this is like the hallmark moment, is when the event was over, and it was all. Put it this way, I was the only person that looked like me in the room.
Yep.
Let's put it that way. And I'll never forget the CEO who was hosting. There was about 40 CEOs. It was invite only. And at the end, he said, "Everybody, I want to just give a shout out to Trey. He's in the back. He's one that put this whole thing together." And all these CEOs start clapping this. I'm in the back with like it coming out my eye. But one of the things that I noticed when I was there, they were all talking about Robert Smith. All like, yeah, I want our company to get bought by Robert Smith. Vista Equity, that's the name of the company. Vista Equity. And so long story short, let me fast forward a little bit more. I ended up working 4 to 5 years. I was team member, employee number 7 of this company. We raised $10 million, and we went on to deploy about $165 million to these B2B SaaS companies. So that was when you see $165 million in a bank, like I actually saw it because I was really close. When you see this, like your brain, you cannot unsee that. So after my time there, I was getting the itch. It was our last event. We did an event in Austin, and I was just getting this itch. Like, I gotta do this, man. Like, my time's not on my side right now. It's time to get into this, get into the game. So that's when I would say was like the launch. And this was like maybe 5 years ago. This was like the launching pad where I really went out on my own into the M&A private equity space and really establishing a corporation to do that. And we can get into it.
And that's really powerful. And I definitely want to, because I don't want people who actually could utilize your services to miss the opportunity.
Yeah.
But that's really powerful. You had to take a step backwards.
Yeah.
In order to take a step forward.
Yeah.
Because 5 years of learning.
Yeah. Wait. Let me add something to the story because you reminded me of something. Let me add something to the story. At the time, when he said I can volunteer, he did say to me, "You still have to pay the ticket price." Guess how much the ticket was? $500. So I paid to intern. At the time, I didn't tell my wife, and I'm moving money around. Boom, 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 boom. I called them back and I said, let's do it. And then the results came afterwards. But I want to clarify, I paid to intern.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So when you said what you said, it reminded me. I wanted to really get the full story.
And I get it. I didn't, and people don't understand like that. There was an investment, right, to learn.
Yes.
I my story with the Napoleon Hill Foundation, everything, and
yeah,
I still paid.
Yeah.
And got, and when I came home, my ex-wife asked me, what were you thinking? I said, think about winning. Yeah. You know what I mean? I came home with a phone that was worth, I say, billions of dollars.
Yeah.
Because I had everyone's phone number. I can now.
The network is literally a network.
I can now call a Les Brown and he's going to pick up the phone. Greg Reed became my brother. Mm-hmm. So he's probably watching today. You know what I mean? Like, and so many other, major people became family because I took a risk, mm-hmm. right? You took a risk, where could have caused some problems at home.
It could.
Thank
God for a supportive wife, and I had to earn that.
And big shout to Gracie.
Yeah, she's definitely the fuel behind. When you see my daughter,
yeah,
and you see like my wife is definitely the battery, the success you see.
Yes. Yeah. So what I love about and I say this all the time when I see you guys.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I love that you're a family. Right. I say this to you. Yeah. I say it when you're together. Because I celebrate the family. I've succeeded in many things, but I didn't keep the family together.
Which is hard.
What I mean? Like you guys, and I there's been times like there's challenges. I pray for the family.
I appreciate it. Sometimes you feel like you're holding on by a thread, like you don't see
pray,
a path.
Yeah, I pray for the family, especially, and pray with the family. You know what I mean? So
that.
Especially when you go into new directions.
Yeah.
Right. When you go into new directions, places and spaces, especially like the space and place where you're at now.
Yeah.
There aren't too many people you can talk to about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you go home, even when you pillow talk, what I mean? That's all. You say, like, I got it. Just
yeah.
You know what I mean?
You don't want to talk about that at home all the time either.
Exactly. So it becomes a even more lonely journey.
Yes.
So
100%.
To have a supporting spouse that understands, being a Proverbs wife.
Yeah.
Yeah,
my wife. Thank God for her.
You know what I mean? Because there's got to do more.
Yeah. Oh.
Right.
We're in one of those seasons where sometimes she's holding the weight. Sometimes like it's just like we're just together. We're holding, like somebody's up, somebody's down, somebody's up. But it's
especially when you venture into the world that you're venturing
into. It's very high risk,
high reward.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes time.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It may be it may someone who's looking for a pay every 2 weeks, they couldn't step in. They may not get a check for a year.
That's one of the things one of the first things I had to learn is, I forgot who said it, Nassim Taleb. He's an author and economist. He said one of the two greatest addictions is cocaine and a monthly or a weekly paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
So breaking my addiction, like sometimes I still Jones for it, but breaking my addiction to that weekly steady paycheck was one of the first things that I had to learn. Probably the hardest things that I had to learn in order to navigate through everything.
And I'm
because, like you said, you always have capital out in the streets. You always got capital.
I love that you said that that's an addiction, right? Because I don't think people realize how hard that is.
It's an addiction.
It's when you step out as an entrepreneur, like there are times, where you're paying out.
Yeah.
And you're not bringing in.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Time, months, years.
Yeah.
Like for real.
And because people see you as the owner,
mm-hmm.
they don't understand your expense.
Mm-hmm.
I had a meeting with one of my clients yesterday, And one of the things we talked about is you're responsible for the livelihoods of everyone here.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, if they can't keep their lights on because you didn't bring in the capital,
Yeah.
and they still came to work, that's not their fault.
It's not
That's
yeah.
yours.
Yeah.
Right?
The
So
buck stops at you.
it stops at you. So you're taking on and stepping into a new world. So tell them about your corporation now.
So the corporation that we started officially 2 years ago it's called TFX, or Tellus FX. And basically what we do, we let me give you this story. So we acquired 2 agencies last year. One was a web development firm, and they do software. They were based in Africa. Then there was another one where we have a minority stake that's here locally. And that's like going through those 2 acquisitions. One was like, this is a dumpster fire because you have to do due diligence. You learn like, okay, this may not work. We pivoted, and the way we pivoted is now how we position ourselves are capital optimization partners for private equity firms. So we went back into service mode rather than acquisition mode. So right now, what our positioning is to serve private equity firms that are managing under $100 million in various different capacities. So anything from their branding to their due diligence to their revenue operations to their exit planning and how they plan in their exit when they leave to leave the company. We do that. We have we call it our value stack in order to touch those different things. And at that time, the way we got to this point is we discovered what we call 12 capital constraints that most private equity firms have. And we've built 50 mechanisms to solve all of those different constraints. So it's like a proprietary solution for a private equity firm with the goal of taking our cash flows, our profits, to go back into acquisition mode. So we just pivoted to just being a partner with private equity firms that are managing under 100 million to be able to serve them so that we can acquire eventually.
And I love that you talked about the pivot.
Yeah.
Because a lot of businesses fail because they can't pivot. The reason we don't have Blockbuster anymore, right, is because they couldn't pivot. You know, and understanding that the market in which we serve, you know, right now isn't bringing us the capital that we need. I'm one that's hard on not wanting to pivot. I'm a bull in the china shop. I'm gonna run it over, you know.
Yeah.
You know, and that takes first of all confidence.
Yeah.
It takes fortitude. You know, so I want to make sure that we give you your credit, right? Confidence, fortitude, and then a willingness.
Yeah.
You know, because, you know, once you come up with a vision,
yeah,
you know, to be able to say that this vision isn't serving me
today, right? Yeah.
You know, I was just talking with one of my friends, you know, because we were working on this one vision for 7 years without a paycheck. That, you know, about to see some things happen.
Yeah.
But it's like, how did you do that without losing focus?
Yeah.
You know, I said, because that vision was a long-term vision. You know, knowing the difference between long-term and short-term.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in your company, were you able to shift because you knew what your long-term vision was, or were you able to shift because a more willingness to understand the market share?
Well, the market's going to tell you the truth, right? So the way I look at it is Gary Vee has this idea called the cloud, having your heads in the cloud and in the dirt. So there's times when you have your heads in the cloud, and there's times when you have your hands in the dirt. So after time, what I like to do, this is so tough for entrepreneurs to do, is the time box things. And what I mean by that is saying, if this doesn't work in 3 months, or if this, you give yourself a time, if this doesn't work in 3 months, evaluate, do a post-mortem, say everything that didn't work, and then move on. what happens is, and I've been in this boat, I'm stubborn. I want to hold on. I allow that time to go way longer than I anticipated. So it was really about like having that perspective and having a great team and people to come in and kind of like say, wait, this is not working, and test the thing and then really change your pivot. And it's tough on the pivot when you have other people, like you said earlier, that
rely on you.
Yeah, that rely on you. So it's really listening to the market, because the market is where you're going to find the truth.
And I love that you say that, because, man, like I said, I definitely can be a bull in the china shop, and because people rely on my decisions, knowing knowing how to listen.
Yeah.
I'm like I don't have a center. I have a center's pivot.
Yeah.
Right? Like, he don't want pivot. He want knock you over.
Yeah.
But I love that you're talking about time boxes too.
Yeah.
Because that's something, I suffer from not doing.
Yeah.
Right? Not 3 months. What? I told my ex-wife that's probably why we not married no more.
It's so similar.
Yeah, I said if this don't work and blah blah blah, I might get a job. That time came. She's like, "You gonna get a job?" I said, like, I was lying. Like, I'm like, I made money.
Yeah.
But I wasn't making the capital that I could have, that my degree would allow me to do, and so many other things. But for me, time freedom was more important.
Yeah.
I've never missed any basketball games from any of my kids. I've never missed a recital.
Mm-hmm.
I've never missed anything because I own the company.
Yeah.
Right. So if I need to take time off, I can.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if I need to put in extra hours, I will.
You will. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So, but I didn't do, and I'm so glad you said it, was time boxing. So for other entrepreneurs out here, right? He's telling you, don't lose the wife.
I hear that. Yeah,
I mean, in my case, it was better for both of us. Shout out to my ex. Wish her the best. We like oil and water. We don't mix.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But for others, right, you may have a good spouse and may not know that you have a good spouse because you didn't do what you did.
Yeah.
Time box and gave her some time. Say, hey, give me 3 months.
Yeah.
In 3 months, you may tell your business partners one thing, but
the
first partner you have is always the home partner.
Yeah.
And I stress that for married entrepreneurs. Your first partner is your spouse.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't have a good partnership at home, everything else goes awry.
Can you say that one more time?
You know what I mean? Yeah, definitely. If you don't have a good partnership at home, everything else goes awry.
Yeah.
So that's why I celebrate your relationship so much. Because I know sometimes y'all might be looking at me like, this ain't today. But you know what I mean? But I'm so glad, for hearing it. That's why I come by like, God probably put me there just for that day. I love you, girl.
I have your book. Literally, when I bought your book, I still have it that I refer back to because of how easy it is to read when you need a quick, like, the happiness engineer. Like, because sometimes you're not happy. Mm-hmm. You're not happy. You got to talk about it.
Yeah. And everyone needs to pick me up. So, that's why that book was put together like that.
Yeah.
Quick pick me up.
It's really quick. Like,
no.
Yep.
Grab what you need.
Yep.
But I love that, because you're giving jewels for not just for those who are in business, but those who are in business and have families.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of husbands right now that can go home and say, let me time block.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because in time blocking, I can also reflect.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? My time block, like, after 5 years, like,
yeah.
Because, and that's about having vision versus having sight.
Yeah.
Right. You have vision and sight.
Yeah.
I don't have good sight, and I believe in these glasses if I want to. But I have great vision.
Yeah.
Right. So I can I can see through, the down,
Yeah.
And be cool with it.
Yeah.
Like we sliding, like yeah, grab the sled.
Yeah. But sometimes there's a paradox of vision.
You know,
Meaning that, like I always had this idea of this 100-year plan. I always say 100-year plan, 100-year plan, 100-year plan. And sometimes that vision is just so strong that you can't see the next 100 minutes, the 100-minute plan, because the world is moving so fast, and it's hard to plan for 100 when you can't really dial in the first 100 minutes of your day.
And it's so funny that you say that. That's why I live in vision. Les Brown talks about the 100-year plan. That's something. Yeah, that's something that he talks about all the time.
Yeah.
Does your family have a 100-year plan?
I didn't know that.
That was the very first conversation really that I had was Les.
Wow.
Was about, and at that time I didn't even have. I have a plan past the weekend. You know what I mean? Like I was just coming off of selling drugs.
Yeah.
Just figuring out where I want to go in life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I was in the music industry, but
yeah.
I was a drug dealer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Don't let anyone lie to you. You know what I mean? In the music industry back then, either you were gay or you were a gangster.
Oh,
you know what I mean? At the top of the industry, you're a gay or you're a gangster.
Yeah.
And I chose the gangster role. You know what I mean? Like so, now it's you can be anything.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And it's different.
Yeah.
And I have nothing against, the LGBTQ community.
Mm-hmm.
My oldest son is proudly gay, and I love him.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that there's clarity.
Yeah.
But that was the industry, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, knowing where you fit and fall, but having met Les and he said the 100-year plan. That's why I'm like, he's like 100-year plan, 100-year plan. I'm like, 100, like what? Plan for the weekend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Plan for a year, and then meeting, then one of his mentors, Bernie Dorman, becoming my mentor.
Yeah.
God rest his soul. And him telling me him living in this 100-year plan.
Yeah.
I'm like I'm really not.
It's hard for us to think in terms of that because we're just trying to survive in a lot of ways. One hack I can share with your audience on how to really think in terms of this 100-year plan is go to your ChatGPT and prompt into it and say, based off of what you know about me, how do you see my life panning out over the next 100 years? And break it down by the decade. I did this for 300 years. There's a investor from SoftBank who has a 300-year plan. So I did that. So I went on ChatGPT and I said, based off of everything you know about me, because I knew a lot. I knew about my business. I knew what I was doing. I was brainstorming with it. I said, based off of everything you know, tell me all about the economic climates, what I can expect, the technology climates. And it literally broke down 300 years of different phases of TFX, my company, of where it can position. But what I noticed about that is, wow, I can't unsee that. So now we have the tools to help us envision beyond where we're at right now.
And that's
I'll give that one for free.
What's so crazy
that
is
prompt.
When I wrote my 100-year plan was before AI. So because Les Brown was so into it, I had to write it out. It is so funny because people when you come into certain things, when you have a 100-year plan and things that fit into your plan, you can plug and play it. People like, you already have that written out.
Yeah.
I haven't. I was the capital wasn't here for it.
Yeah, it had to catch up. Sometimes you're right. Sometimes the vision has to catch up to where you're. I should say sometimes the world has to catch up to where your vision's at, because the technological resources. Because my first one I wrote I have it in my safe box. It's an index card, and I break it down by decade for the next 10 decades. And it's all tattered up because I had it in my wallet and everything all tattered up. But it allows you to be patient. Allows you, like you were saying, we were talking earlier about COVID. And he was like, it has your mind at ease. So when things aren't going good in the now, you can always tap back into, and it gives you perspective. Allows you to zoom out
That's why it's so
Allowed
important.
you to zoom out.
It's so important. I don't have a spouse like you have,
Mm-hmm.
but I have an amazing support system.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's so important, to have people that believe in your vision,
Yeah.
right? So when others don't, because there's always going to be doubters,
Of course.
you know, when others don't, you have that one cheerleader, right?
Yeah.
In the Bible it says, "Where two or more minds come together, I
Here I
appear."
am. Yeah.
Right? So you always need that other mind, that other heart to have
Yeah.
that godly connection.
Yeah. Yep.
So it is important, that you pay attention to who your circle is.
Yeah.
And I love that you gave them a Chat GPT prompt.
Trump. Yeah.
Because I haven't even done that in Chat GPT. Like I've actually written out. Like I had, we're pen to paper. This is
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
like
I missed those days.
I mean I still believe that those days are necessary.
Yeah.
So Chat GPT, as you know,
Yeah.
I'm big on teaching AI.
Yeah.
So because we missed the last digital revolution. But I think there is still a space and a place for, normal creativity, right?
Yeah.
Non-technologically
Yeah.
enhanced. But technology is needed. Like
Yeah.
I do graphic design. If I didn't, I wouldn't be able to do that without ChatGPT,
Yeah.
without
Yeah.
AI,
Mm-hmm.
because I can't draw a lick.
Yeah.
If you think I drew any of those or designed any, no, every logo has been enhanced by artificial intelligence. And I don't know how to do any of it. So it's allowed for people like myself
Yeah.
who are creative with words to take our words and to create new things.
Those are the people that have the advantage. Those are You're a wordsmith. Those that know how to put words, because now everything's natural language. So before we used to tell our kids, "Hey, we have to program. You have to learn how to code." But now it's like just learn English.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Just be good with words and being able to have the rigor of learning just English.
So
Because anything can be created.
the advantage now are to the better communicators.
Yes.
Whether you can communicate with people
Yeah.
or with technology.
Yeah.
Can you communicate your idea clearly
Yeah.
and concisely?
Yeah.
So that you can get the results
Yeah.
that you want.
And the other part of, that I like to say is taste. Taste. And what I mean by taste is there's a lot of talk in tech right now. I posted this. I said two of the words that I'm seeing a lot of is vibe and aura. All the tech boys in Silicon Valley, like, oh, vibe and aura and all that stuff, because now they're finally coming into what's really necessary, because program is becoming commoditized. That's becoming commoditized. Anybody can do those things. The last mode is taste. And what taste is being able to have a crazy big reference library from all different cultures that you can pull the combinations together that never came together and use Gen AI to invent. So taste, and just an example, you remember Mark Zuckerberg went from just the gray t-shirts and the blue jeans. That was his uniform. Eventually, you start seeing him wearing street clothes and wearing chains and his hair growing out, because he was signaling to the creators that things are changing. He wanted to show that he had taste. And who's always been the tastemakers?
Us. Yeah.
So it's our time.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm in this space.
And that's amazing, right? Because we need more risk takers.
With taste.
With taste, right? We need more people like us. One of the things my mom has told me, because I've been blessed early to be a trendsetter, and being that I've many times been the only piece of pepper in the salt shaker.
Mm-hmm.
So my mom has taught me early, it's not just my job to get in the door,
Mm-hmm.
but to rip it off the hinges.
Yeah.
So that more of us can run in,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So I always tell people, like yourself, your job is to, once you're in, to make it feel like an 80s rap song. You know, an 80s rap song is salt and pepper's here. Salt and pepper's here.
Yeah.
Right? Like there should be, you should not come back alone.
Yeah.
If you
yeah.
came back alone, then you didn't do your job.
Yeah.
You know, and it's, and it doesn't have to be someone that looks exactly like you or someone in your family, because I mentor young people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it should be someone that reflects your community,
Yeah.
so that the information goes back home.
Yeah.
Right? So, you know, how many, and I tell people all the time, I don't measure your success by how much money you make.
Yeah.
You know, because I know millionaires,
Yeah.
I know billionaires,
Mm-hmm.
I know bums.
Yeah.
You know, bums don't mean money.
There's not much difference between a billionaire and a bum.
Yeah, right.
They're both trying to survive.
Yes. We measure your legacy by how many lives did you impact. You know, when my mentor passed away, Bernie Dorman, he had 200,000 students. Right, 200,000 people.
Wow.
Going, you know, crying because
Wow.
he's gone.
Wow.
You know, like his reach in touched everybody, from the dude that invented Bugle Boy jeans,
Wow.
to the lady that discovered Oprah. You know what I mean? Like, and you know, his impact will go forever. You know, when you hear Master P talk about generational wealth, that's Bernie.
Wow.
Like, you know what I mean? Even the way he puts it in I've sat in those tables. I've heard Bernie say it the exact same way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So to know
Wow.
that, you know, that his legacy is going to live in so many other people, you know, because what I've learned too is that your legacy may not be reflected in your children. You know, because for some reason, you know, you think about preachers and preachers' kids.
Yeah, which I'm one of.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, so how often, you know, they stray so far.
Yep.
Right,
I've been down that road. Yep.
Right. So, you know, our legacy, you know, because me and George Fraser have had this debate. You know, he always says your legacy is your family, but I'm like, what if your family don't reflect what you do?
Yeah.
You know, am I held hostage because my children choose to F up?
Yeah. What did Jesus say when they asked? They said, "Hey, your mom and brothers want to talk to you." He goes, "Who is my mother? Who is my father? My family's here. The people I'm talking to."
Yeah.
And you literally disassociated. Like, it doesn't have to be your family or
not your kin, right? It can be any. You know, you can plant your seed. You know, because Bernie called me son. I don't. You know, I'm very particular about letting people from outside of my culture call me son.
I hear you.
Because that's, you know, in slavery terms, that was big on.
Yeah.
You know, but I knew he loved me like a son.
Yeah.
So I knew he meant that.
Yeah.
So I accepted that. You know, but in other spaces and places, I'll quickly correct you by calling me son, boy. Like those things are derogatory, especially in our community.
Yeah.
Right. So to know what that looks like, you know, and to step into a space where you could be called son, boy, you know, it don't matter how much money you have, right? Because you are in a space where 99.9% of the time you're going to be alone. You know, and then when you bring it back to your community, 99.9% of the time, they're not going to understand what you're talking about.
Yes. You you live in that space of misunderstanding, being misunderstood.
Yeah. You know, they think you're talking over their head, or you might feel like you're too good,
Mm-hmm.
right? Just because it's something that's not talked about
Yeah.
in our community.
Yeah.
So it's not something that is understood.
Yeah.
When you're not talking about basketball. Not to say all
I hear
black
that,
people
yeah.
talk about basketball. You're not talking about hip hop, and I'm not trying to limit
Yeah.
our scope, but using examples
Yeah.
that we
Yeah.
see every day.
Yeah.
Because I talk about basketball.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Which is very interesting because when you talk about blacks in general, most of our wealth is concentrated in sports and entertainment. Actually, what I read a stat: 1,400 black men with have billions of billions of dollars across all their salary caps, because that's where most of our wealth is concentrated at. So I know growing up, I was really pushed to play sports, and I actually got into the music industry. But I told you the story when I was 10. When I was 8, my dad he worked at PP&L right down here, had a co-worker and a friend of the family, who was a computer programmer in the 80s, who was black. And I'll never forget, he brought a Texas Instrument to our house and I remember he set it up in our house. And I remember, this is pre-internet, I remember sitting in front of it, learning DOS but my friends were playing basketball and football. And had there been an example or somebody that I could relate with that was doing it, this is the age that Zucks and Steve Jobs, this is when they received it. When you listen to their biographies, they received their first computers between 8 and 10. And I always look back at it because it's almost like, I call it artificially induced trauma, where I didn't have to play football, I didn't have to play sports, and I played college and all that stuff. But if I would have spent time locking myself in that room, just programming, I always think back to that moment.
And it's funny, right? So John Assaraf says, we don't see with our eyes, we see with our brain. But our brain will only see what it's been trained to see.
Yeah.
So
that's a great quote.
Even if you would have seen it, and I can say this using me as a prime example.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily gonna mean you're gonna gravitate to it. My grandfather was one of the first black men to ever drive a train.
Oh wow.
So that's why I hold my children to such greatness. I said we came from greatness.
Yeah.
So engineering and all that stuff was in us.
Yeah.
I dribbled a basketball. You know what I mean? I still went down the road because growing up in Harlem in the 80s, and that was what we saw. Even being in college at Lehigh, I would always go back to the neighborhood kids and tell them you were smarter than the kids in school.
Wow.
And they're like, "Oh, you talking about you got the book smart?" I'm like, "You guys have to calculate. You have to manage. You have to negotiate. And if you get any of it wrong, you could die.
The stakes are high.
If these kids fail a test, mommy and daddy may pay for next semester. You know what I mean? So the lifestyle, based on advantage and opportunity.
Yeah.
Right? Opportunity. I was blessed to have opportunity.
Yeah.
Where other kids in my age group went to jail. For the same trouble I got into, I got to go to prep school.
Wow.
So knowing, and that's also why I go so hard for today's youth.
Yeah.
Because there was something growing up when I grew up called youth offender status. That doesn't exist for children anymore.
Wow, I didn't know that.
You know what I mean? A youth offender status, you were charged on a different spectrum.
Yeah.
You're seeing life in a different way. That's why. But it a lot of it had to do with our generation why they got rid of it. Because you would then send young kids to commit huge crimes.
Yeah.
Because you know that they would be released. You know,
Wow.
so, you know, youth offender status. So, you know, teaching entrepreneurship, you know, at a younger age, we have less opportunities for the bad elements to grab hold of.
Yeah.
You know, like I tell people all the time, the first time I put a gun in somebody's mouth, I was 10.
Oh my goodness.
You know what I mean? Like the first time I had a gun put in my mouth, I was 14. You know what I mean? So, you know, at the same time, even though my mom did everything she could to raise us right, it's Harlem in the 80s. And the streets were so powerful, you know, in Harlem in the 80s. Being the oldest boy, I took the risk that my brothers never had to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just talked to my younger brother right before the show. You know, he's a professional juggler. You know, he's never had a real fight. You know, great life to live.
Yeah,
Growing up in Harlem in the 80s.
Yeah.
And say, hey, I've never had a real fight. You know what I mean? That doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Right? But being that my mom, you know, raised me to be a certain way, I lived a certain way.
Yeah.
You know, but I say that for more people to think about opportunity.
Yeah.
Because what you showed up today was big opportunity.
Yeah.
You know, I give my past so people know they don't have to make my mistakes.
That's right.
Yeah, I sold drugs, been arrested, done a lot of dumb stuff. I have a college degree, a few companies. I run, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The bounce back.
Yeah.
Is different.
It's different. Yeah.
You know, because I had opportunity before falling down. You know, I could walk into a room and still say, I'm still me.
Yeah.
I made mistakes, but
good,
I'm still me. Right? Where other people may not have those opportunities.
And that's the big difference.
Big difference.
Big difference,
you know, being always a trusted individual. That's why it goes back to service.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, you can give a story of how I served you. So do you hold me accountable for a mistake I made?
Yeah.
Or do you hold me accountable to what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that was my bounce back. Right? But how these kids don't get that anymore.
No, they don't. No.
You know, I had a young man. My only failed case in working with young people coming out of prison, and I still hold this guy, Tristan. When you come home, hopefully you'll find me. My only failed case, but he wasn't my failure. It was a system failure. You know, they sent him home. He just did 5 years in prison. The last year he did in solitary confinement. And he went from solitary confinement straight to the streets.
Oh my God.
So, you know, highly wound up, no trust, nothing.
Oh my
so
God.
We got him the trust, but by the time we passed him off to another agency because we weren't hiring.
Yeah.
At the time the other agency dropped the ball. He wanted up going back into, which made me be more hands-on on making sure we don't just pass you off, but we hold your hand through, because you never know.
Yeah.
You know, but opportunity.
Yeah.
You know, that is so key.
So important.
You know, so and you said something, and which is how we got to this. It's not always what you know, but who you know.
Who you know, yeah.
You know, in your situation, you being willing to pay $500 to get to know the first step, right? You paid $500 to take a lesson.
Yeah.
Some
people think that's crazy to pay to volunteer.
Hey.
But I'm crazy. I'm that type of crazy.
I get it. You know, Sheriff Elector tell you I paid $2,000 to volunteer.
Yeah. Most of us are like that. Most of us are crazy.
You know, but that experience, you know, opened up so many
got that
doors.
Financially and network, I got that back 1,000, 10,000 fold.
Yeah.
Over 5 to 7 years. Yeah, got that back.
And the network that you
The
made,
net. Oh my.
the trust that you were able
Yeah.
to build, you know, and in service, you know, no one can take that from me.
Yeah.
You know, I still, you know, because before I was the happiness engineer, you know, I had some rough edges. So
Mm-hmm.
I still remember other people telling people not to work with me
Wow.
because of my past,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know. But by the time they had already told that person not to work with me, they
Mhm.
didn't realize I'd already did the work.
Work.
You know, so now you get to judge me on my past or
Mhm.
judge me on my merit.
Yeah.
You know, like, hey, I don't hide my past.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's part of your power.
Yeah, it is. It allows. So I tell everyone, right? Everyone has a test
Mm-hmm.
to get to your testimony,
Yes.
right? My test had to go the way it happened because it would have been, people would have been fooled into thinking I grew up with the silver spoon.
Ah.
You know, I went to prep school. I went to,
Yeah.
but my mom when I started prep school was on welfare. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like there were, you know what I mean? There were different things, you know, that my education doesn't reflect in my
Yeah.
background, you know. So if I didn't get in certain troubles,
Mm-hmm.
the impact that I make with in certain communities,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to make.
Yeah.
Because you would just, oh, you went to Marine Academy. You went to, like, what? Like, I grew up in Harlem.
Yeah.
Like I would have to go home to situations you wouldn't understand. There was a period in my lifetime where I literally lost a friend every week. You know what I mean? Somebody be calling me up at prep school like, Pop is gone. He's gone. He's, you know what I mean? And I can't even go home.
You can't go home, yeah.
Because I'm not allowed. So it's like, so the psychological torture.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, of not being able to. But again, right, the opportunity at the end. I still remember someone calling me up and needing something, and I can say, hey, my high school roommate is the president of Bank of Panama. He's like, huh? Oh, yeah, let me call him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let me see if we can make, you know what I mean? Like, getting into fashion, I can say, yo, my high school roommate, you know, bought the Asian end of Vera Wang. Let me call him. You know what I mean? Because he did.
He did. Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it, you know, I'm like, Icky. He's like, yeah. He's like, I don't put my name on it. You know what I mean? Like, you know, but these were people, not even who I know, people who I still know, right? Who can vouch for me.
Yeah.
You know, whether they knew me as a crazy teenager or as a grown man, you know, the opportunity to have experience, right? And that's so key, you know, because you paid for the opportunity to have an experience.
Yep.
You know, and I don't want to poo-poo past how you started off with baseball cards, because you mentioned Gary Vee.
Yeah.
You know, that's where he started.
Yeah, yeah. I remember first seeing, like, hearing about him, and his journey really very resembles a lot like his early days with the baseball cards. I always resonated when he talked about that, because that's all we did as kids.
That's what made me get my first Gary Vee book, Punch,
Oh, Punch, Jab, yeah.
Punch, Jab.
You got to get, the Crushing It.
Yeah,
I got his first one.
Yeah, I got Crushing It after.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You know, I don't know a lot, but you know, Punch, Jab is when I came into Gary.
Yeah,
you know, and man, like I said, listening to your story, you have very similar beginnings.
Yeah,
you know, so you know, if a firm, you know, a venture capitalist firm wanted to work with your company, how would they find you?
So what I would say is, LinkedIn is a good place. You can also go to my website. Let me spell it for you. It's TELOSFX.com. But one of the things that I'm most excited about, if you want to really connect with me, I vlog my whole journey.
Okay. Tell them about your vlog.
So the name of the vlog is called, it started off as my daughter made me this bracelet, TRMYN, which is my name without the vowels. And it was a mantra that I used when I was really going through a struggling time. And it means transform reality, master your now. So just the way because I was thinking, the way I'm going to transform my realities, I got to master like right now. So that I kind of wear that as a reminder. So that was the original name of the vlog where when you go, you can find me on YouTube. Just put Tremayne Tatum in, and you'll see I have 200 episodes. I'm actually vlogging this right now. So if you'll see this episode. I have about 220 episodes, and you'll see me buying the two companies. You'll see me pivoting. Because what I want to do is I believe as long as we all have this, we are a walking media company.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably like if you really want to go inside, I'm showing my contracts that I'm signing. I'm showing everything as much as I can so that if you are a firm looking to work with us, you're gonna see. I want to build instant trust, and we're building a moat of authenticity and trust and taste into our what we're doing. So that would be the number one if you want to go inside it and see how the sausage is made.
All right, so give them the YouTube channel.
So
again.
just go to, you can put my name in. I don't know if you have show notes.
Yeah.
Tremayne Tatum, TREMAYNE, Tatum, TATEM. Just put that in YouTube search. You'll see my face pop up. Click subscribe and go on the journey. What I would suggest is going through the playlist because you'll see from episode 1 all the way to we're on episode 220. We've been recording for almost 2 years, almost daily straight.
So there you got it. You know what I mean? Especially for my venture capitalist firms, those who are dealing in big capital. You know, um, you need a company that can help you navigate through, find the right assets, better put yourself together. Definitely look at what this man is doing. Pay attention to his vlog. Go watch an episode. What's even great is that, like he said, it's set up.
Yeah.
So you can see the episode you may need to gain your trust
Immediately, yeah.
right?
You want to create immediate trust.
Yeah, so I love that. That's a very amazing and creative idea, you know, to do that, you know. So I love it, and I told you this hour would go by.
It went really fast.
Very quickly. You know, it goes by faster than you think.
Yeah.
So again, tell them where they can find your YouTube.
On YouTube, Tremayne Tatum, or if you want to go to, if you're a private equity firm out there, want to go right to our website, it's TELOSFX.com, Telos Effects. And yeah, let's talk.
Yes. And like I said, this hour goes by so
fast.
You know, and I don't want to hold you too long because I want to make sure you go give my baby a big old hug. You know, I have adopted his daughter. You know,
she loves seeing you. She's like, is that Paz? Yeah, always talk about Paz.
Oh my goodness! Like, so she can spot me from a mile away.
Yeah.
She knows my walk. You know, and I love her. And it's funny because I can't see anything, but I can always see her. You know, you know, we have an amazing bond. But I'm grateful that we got to spend this time for you.
Appreciate you having me on, man.
Oh, definitely. So before we leave, I want you to do what we've asked all of our guests to do.
Okay.
And that's say my personal manifesto. I'll say it all the way through, and then we'll do it like call them a spot.
Okay.
Because trying to remember it's.
Oh, I probably won't.
Yeah. So the personal manifesto is simple. I love me. I'm worthy. Some people may not like me, but I don't care because the people that matter will be glad that I'm here. So we'll do it like this. Okay. I love me.
I love me.
Worthy.
I'm worthy.
Some people not like me.
Some people may not like me, but I don't care.
Because people that matter.
Because the people that matter
will be glad that I'm here.
Will be glad that I'm here.
And yes, we are glad that you spent this hour with us, Tremayne. We're glad that we got to tell everyone about your amazing daughter. We're glad that we got to share to the world that you're doing big things in big banking. So we're glad to tell the world of high finance that they have a new resource for them. We're glad to share the world about your YouTube channel. So if you don't know, Now you know so that they can gain instant trust. We're glad that you shared that because that's
Yeah.
a strategy that most businesses don't even think about.
That's a
You know
whole
what I mean? That's
nother
a whole nother
episode.
strategy. So I am so grateful that we had you on.
Yeah.
And before we leave, I'm gonna give you the last word.
Wow. I'm first of all, I want to say, Paz, like I want to give you your flowers because you've been probably one of the most consistent people that I've seen in the community, in the resources that you've brought to the table, and just our like. I usually don't do this type like this, but because it's you, I trust you, and we've kicked it for so long. I just want to give you your flowers and the work that you're doing. Even though people may not see, people may not understand. I know you're doing the work, and you're doing the work. So that's how I want to end it. I just want to end it giving you your flowers and really, respecting all the work that you've done and the friendship that we've developed over the years.
Oh man, I'm humbled that I thank you. I thank you for those kind words. Ladies and gentlemen, we had Tremayne Tatum, and next week we have for you Miss Veronica. Oh man, we have Veronica on for we have Valley Health Partners. Talking about how she grew her business, right, or this business from being to small business to a competitor with the major health networks in our community. Homegrown, love her story. Next week, tune in. This is You Don't Have to Be Perfect. Make sure y'all go check out Tremayne's YouTube channel. Check out his vlog. Learn all that you can, and you don't have to be perfect. Peace.
Peace.